A shard from the stars, yet holding an edge untouched by time for 2.5 millennia. Hidden within ancient records lie blades cloaked in riddles, their origins unclear. This story turns toward those silent weapons buried in the past. King Tutankhamun's dagger, made from meteorite iron, hidden in the glow of ancient gold inside King Tut's resting place. Past jewels admired for generations, sits one quiet piece whispering louder truths than its size suggests. Not the famous face-shaped cover drew deep study. Instead, a slender ritual knife caught sharp eyes, its surface too fresh against time's pull. Odd, given ironwork was barely known when pharaohs walked stone paths. Centuries later, curiosity ran tests without scratching the metal skin, using beams to scan what bones lay beneath its shine. What came back stunned those who trusted earthborn ore rules. 10% nickel curled through its core, laced lightly with cobalt. A blend stars forge, but soil does not keep. It turns out the knife came from a rock that fell from space. That means people back then did not simply stare at stars. Instead, they searched for what those lights could give them, believing such gifts from above held powers beyond anything dug up on land. Shaping this kind of metal should have been too hard for their time, yet somehow they managed it. Handling something so fragile needed precise strikes and controlled fire, skills once thought missing long after this age passed by. Across distant lands like Old Turkey and parts of China, tools made from the same sky metal began turning up. Maybe travelers moved through deserts and mountains, carrying shards of heaven from one valley to another. For those who lived along the River Nile, the object wasn't just something used in battle. It carried sacred meaning, meant to guard the young ruler on his risky passage beyond death toward godhood. What came from Albert Jambon's careful work across years showed an odd truth. Before 1200 BC, most iron items did not come from Earth at all. Because it fell from the sky, iron held 9 times the worth of gold, seen as a material handed down by heavens themselves. Analysis confirmed the boy pharaoh's blade combined metal from no fewer than 2 separate space rocks, suggesting craftsmen chose particular impacts deliberately. Such effort shaped a tool unlike any made by human hands alone, one forged from pieces of distant fire falling through night. Out here, time bends around a small blade shaped by hands unaware of modern science. Not only did people back then spot iron falling from space, but they also worked it into tools without knowing chemistry. Though we think advancement moves straight forward, this object says otherwise. From the sky came metal, older than Earth itself, and humans used it while still digging through stone and dirt below. A young ruler carried what linked him to exploding suns far away. Hidden inside its edge lies proof some weapons made long ago began life in starfire deep within space. The Sword of Goujian. Back in 1965, inside a soggy burial chamber found in Hubei province, something odd turned up. No rust, just silence breaking around what should have been decay. Buried deep, sealed tight in wood like a secret never meant to escape, lay the Sword of Goujian, cold bronze gleaming as if yesterday poured into today. Though soaked for 24 centuries, its surface held no stain, no dulling. Patterns carved long ago still danced under torchlight, untouched by age. As one researcher eased the metal free from its case, his hand slipped. The edge bit skin instantly, clean and sudden. Because even after millennia, it sliced paper stacks like air, offering no resistance. That moment hung there breathless, minds struggling to accept what their eyes saw. Hidden within its structure is a blend of metals so advanced it seems out of place in ancient times, built using 2 different alloys. One part soft copper forming the core, yet along the cutting sides packed with tin to deliver unmatched strength. What stands out most comes next. Exposure to sulfur creates a thin film of sulfide cuprum on the outside, locking moisture away at a microscopic scale and freezing decay like winter halting a river. Behind such craftsmanship sits knowledge, heat behavior, material responses grasped long before similar ideas appeared across Europe by close to 20 centuries. Marked by fine black diamond shapes, this blade holds bright turquoise and soft silk within its frame. Though time has passed, words etched into the metal name its owner, King Goujian of Yue, a man who endured loss before rising again. Not simply forged for battle, the Jian stands apart in China's tradition, seen not as mere tools but symbols, a bearer of honor, balance and thought. Its presence speaks beyond war. Crafted so precisely, some believe it meant to guard him past death, deep beneath earth where silence rules. This object once served a ruler shaped by hardship. Now, cold and still, it waits, not lost, yet no longer drawn. Right now, this sword, known as the Eastern Excalibur, stays locked away deep within China. A small fracture appeared back in 1994 during an outing, so officials said no more trips beyond borders ever again. Inside the Hubei Provincial Museum, it rests without sound, just metal shaped by hands long gone. Though centuries pass, rust barely touches it, time failing to leave much mark. What feels strange is how tools made ages ago sometimes outshine our own skills. Maybe buried somewhere else lies another marvel, quiet under soil, undiscovered for now. The legendary Ulfberht swords out on the gusty fields where Vikings once clashed. Archaeologists found weapons that look more suited to sci-fi tales than medieval times. They're forged from a refined metal, crucible steel, that bends without breaking while slicing through basic iron gear like nothing. Though fragile shields crumple under their edge, what stuns experts is how such purity could even be possible back then. Reaching the extreme heat needed, around 1,600 degrees Celsius, to strip impurities out of molten ore wasn't meant to happen in Europe until centuries later. Factories achieved it during industrialization, long after these warriors had vanished into legend. Something odd shows up once you look closer at the 170 known Ulfberht swords. Quite a few were made long ago by copycats, marked with wrong lettering and weak metal, showing how much people wanted that name back then, almost like a label everyone tried to fake. Real ones, though? They hold tiny carbon tubes inside the blade, structures so small they count as nano-level tech, giving strength regular ironworkers couldn't match, meaning whoever forged them knew something others didn't. It might be that these blades came through Viking traders moving along the Volga path, picking up root steel from Eastern smiths who heated metal in ways nobody else mastered at the time. Out of nowhere, some today's top blade makers tried building a sword like the old Ulfberht ones, sticking strictly to ancient tools. Without warning, they hit massive hurdles tied to heat. Keeping it steady took weeks, almost unmanageable without current tech. It turns out those early blacksmiths weren't only skilled, they pushed boundaries others didn't even see. Their methods vanished when they did, taking with them secrets lost for hundreds of years. After that, most weapons fell back into weak, unreliable metalwork. Oddly enough, these blades stood apart, not loud yet unmatched in function. To hold one felt less like gripping steel and more like touching something forbidden, crafted under silence and strict rules. Out of old whispers comes the name Ulfberht, once carried by blades forged when northern seafarers reached far beyond icy coasts. Though seen as wild fighters, these people might have wielded metal born in distant lands, shaped by knowledge crossing deserts and mountains. Not merely axes and fury, their arms whispered secrets of balance, weight, edge, a kind of quiet mastery. Imagine iron refined by methods unseen in Europe at the time, arriving through hidden paths no map fully captures. Such weapons unsettle what we assumed, that progress moves straight forward, never looping back in surprise. A single sword, marked with a strange cross, holds riddles even today's labs struggle to untangle completely. The Nebula Sword, a modern enigma, older than our planet, a strange piece of space debris became the heart of a sword made not in some distant age, but just now. A teenager named Tristan Dare, teaching himself without masters or schools, shaped the metal into something sharp and silent. This craft began far back when a rock from deep space struck Sweden after wandering in a cold emptiness for eons. From that very chunk, the Muonionalusta meteorite, he drew forth a blade called Nebula. Its surface holds shapes like frozen storms, formed slowly across billions of years. Most who try working this material fail, since heat tends to erase its hidden geometry. Those lattices of nickel and iron, known as Widmanstetten patterns, dissolve under fire almost every time. Yet here they remain, locked inside steel, surviving flame. Out of nowhere, Dare cracked a hidden way to hold those space-borne crystal shapes intact, even as molten steel climbed past 2,200 degrees, freezing moments from 4 billion years ago right inside the blade. Instead of just looking sharp, the weapon tells tales through its form. Golden veins pulse like starlit rivers, opals blink like faraway suns. Meanwhile, ancient ivory grips bear carvings older than cities. Yet somehow, none of it feels random. The iron remembers planets forming, the bone recalls frozen plains, yet both speak through the hands of a kid born yesterday. Few weapons carry weight like the Nebula Sword when names are called among deadly blades. Not because it cuts deeper, but because it fuses scarcity with skill in a way few can replicate. Its core comes from star-born elements, rare beyond measure, shaped by hands younger than most expect. Dare, still early in his years, bends metal with a clarity older artisans strain to reach. His work does not follow tradition. It rewrites it quietly, letting raw material guide form instead of habit. Each curve speaks less of force and more of patience, time folded into steel. You feel its age before you lift it, though it was made yesterday. A whisper about how brief lives pass while certain things endure. Constellations, silence, well-wrought edges. It waits, meant for centuries uncounted. Out here, where most things feel stamped from the same mold, the Nebula Sword rises quiet and odd. Not born from old battles, yet full of something deeper, curiosity shaped like steel. Through its form runs an urge older than temples, reaching for what's beyond, using only what our hands can build. Fire gave it shape, much like it did thousands of years ago when craftsmen chased meteor fragments across deserts. That hunger still flickers now in anyone who stares at a stone from space and thinks blade. While factories hum with repetition, this object exists alone. One spark pulled from darkness between stars, passed into a younger generation, not as a weapon or relic, just signal drift caught mid-air. A hint whispered back, every atom inside you once burned far away. The Sword of San Galgano. Up on a bright hill in Tuscany, hidden inside the quiet Montesiepi chapel, rests something odd. A rusted iron blade stuck in hard rock, made around 1170. Though many once said the San Galgano sword was fake, built to fool travelers or boost church visits, new tests show both metal and stone are genuinely old. Science proves their age now. The weapon did not appear yesterday. A warrior called Galgano Guidotti drove it there, done with fighting after seeing visions he believed came from God. People say the ground softened when he struck, letting steel sink deep without breaking. Not myth alone, this stands real, silent, sharp-edged in time. Clues from metal analysis point to the blade being a real medieval broadsword. Beneath the stone, radar shows a hidden space, possibly a tomb holding the body of the knight who became a saint. While King Arthur's tale has a sword drawn from rock as proof of kingship, Galgano drove him into the ground as a refusal of war, turning steel into a lasting symbol of stillness. Fused with the earth, it cannot move, never raised in battle again. Inside the small chapel rest two dried hands, said to be those of someone who tried to harm or take the weapon, then attacked by wild creatures thought to serve a higher will. That moment hardened the site's aura, an edge of fear woven around what lies there. This old weapon feels like a mirror image of the Excalibur legend, hinting that stories about King Arthur could stem from actual moments in medieval Europe when crusaders clashed across distant lands. Though centuries have passed, the sword stays fixed, unmoved by force, untouched through uprisings and battles long gone. A quiet defiance few relics share, standing still while time raged on around it. The blade marks a turning place where warriors started valuing honor more than victory, faith more than fame, caught mid-step in change. Still there, deep in the rock, the sword waits, no fanfare, just rust and silence holding centuries of questions. Not proof exactly, yet not mere myth either. It splits doubt like a blade through fog. Because time has gnawed at its edges does not mean belief must follow. Iron fused into stone suggests effort beyond accident, a gesture, maybe even prayer. Visitors arrive skeptical, leave unsure, their certainties chipped by what should not last so long. Faith shaped that moment when metal met a cliffside, whatever hands guided it. Even now it whispers without sound. Some truths stay buried until someone stops digging for answers.